new study finds that 7% of U.S. workers say they have been treated unfairly in the workplace due to their religious identity. The findings are from a study entitled Religious Discrimination in the Workplace conducted by SHRM Research, the Society for Human Resource Management. And of those who say they were treated unfairly due to religious identity, 30% add that it affected their mental health. The study also finds that 92% of U.S. workers have a religious identity, including atheists and agnostics, but nearly half have never verbally disclosed their religious identity to coworkers. Joining us now is Alex Alonso, Chief Knowledge Officer at SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. Alex, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it. So talk to us a little bit more about the study and why it was conducted in the first place.
So thank you so much for having me, Tracy. And one of the things that we found was there was a rise both in what it was that people were experiencing in terms of the discomfort that they had at work, meaning that they were feeling excluded in some way, shape, or form. And as part of our work, we try to study what makes a better workplace for most organizations. The other thing that we found was managers were being more, touted as less and less effective over the course of the last 3 to 5 years. So this really prompted us to say, you know what, we need to study what's changing and what has changed in the workplace. Without question, what we found was that 7% of workers were reporting exclusion or feeling treated unfairly in some way as a result of their religious identity, and that had downstream effects. Everything from ranging what was feeling excluded to feeling disengaged to more than 2/3 of them feeling like they were completely isolated at work.
And what else would you say were some of the big takeaways from the study?
One of the things that we found was that there were, just generally speaking, we found that there were close to 10% of those workers who had experienced some sort of unfair treatment as a result of their religious identity turned around and said they were experiencing effects in their personal life. We also saw that another 10% said that their finances had been negatively impacted in some way, shape, or form. But more than that, they also started to report that they were experiencing tough situations in the workplace. And what we found, just as a sort of a telling statistic, was that managers themselves felt that they openly had some biases against religious identity. In other words, not necessarily any one religion, but rather the notion of being open about your religious identity and bringing it to the workplace. So managers, almost 18% of them, started to report that they were having and experiencing those biases and bringing them to the workplace.
And Alex, what other examples maybe do people say or use when saying they were treated unfairly because of their religious identity?
So one of the things that people will turn around and say is that they feel as though they're not getting assignments, the right kind of assignments. They'll also share that they're being excluded from particular groups and group outings at the workplace. But then beyond that, they're feeling as though they're not recognized by the leaders. In fact, one of the things that they found is that they themselves feel as though when excluded by or being considered for their as though they're being treated unfairly because of their religious identity, one of the things that they highlight is that their contributions are not even recognized by their leaders. What we see in the converse, or on the other side of the coin, is those workplaces that are actually religiously diverse and do celebrate religious identity report that they are remarkably aware, and leaders are really good at recognizing the contributions of all those involved in the workplace. So it seems like a more inclusive culture.
Yeah, I know the study also found that not only is religious bias in the workplace harmful to the employees, but it can also be harmful to the company. Can you shed some more light on that for us?
So, for instance, when thinking about the company, we see that a variety of different organizations actually experience a decrease, not just in their firm performance, but a decrease in whether or not they can retain and attract talent. And in an era where we are actually dealing with not just the cliche war for talent, but really the opportunity to source talent and really limits in terms of the talent that's available, what we continue to run into is organizations that are running into a problem because they don't come across as being attractive to people who are interested in religiously diverse and organizations that have a culture that brings forth the contributions of everyone, regardless of their religious identity. The other thing that sort of stands out is that those cultures are then reported as uncivil in some way, shape, or form. And that's where you start to see sort of a decline in a lot of the areas where you might see cultures not being described as empathetic or being described as inclusive. We at SHRM sort of have a highlight kind of work that we're engaged in that looks at civility as being the cornerstone of an inclusive workplace culture, but more importantly, the precursor to a welcoming and inclusive culture.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Alex, thank you so much and sharing all this with us. We really appreciate it.